Hi, today we're going to talk about extension tubes for the Hasselblad system. I think one of the reasons the Hasselblad 500 series are so compact is that the lenses don't focus that close. So I've hired my son today to model for us, and we're going to go through two different lenses and three different sets of extension. So we're starting with the 80mm, the standard lens at minimum focusing distance. I guess we're all pretty familiar with that perspective. Next up, we're going to put a 16mm extension ring on the camera. So there is an order you have to do this. You need to mount the ring to the camera first and then mount the lens to the ring. Always camera first and mount the lens last. When we take the lens off, we'll take the lens off the ring first and take the ring off the camera last. Now notice how much closer I have to get from Lewis to stay at minimum focusing distance. That's the difference that a 16mm extension makes on an 80mm lens. It's pretty huge. Let me get out of the way of my light here, and here we go. So Luis was pretty tired that day. You'll have to forgive him for all the blinkers we had in this session. Now again, I'm unmounting the lens first, and then I'm gonna unmount the ring from the camera. If you don't respect the order, you risk jamming your camera or your lens, which is not fun. So I'm gonna put the 32mm extension now. First the extension goes on the camera, and then the lens goes on the extension. Now I'm doing this to show you, but it's gonna get so close that I would never use a 32mm extension with an 80mm lens for portraits. It's fun for food photography or other situations when it can be nice to really exaggerate perspective, but portrait is not one of those situations. It looks like this. Now let's put the 80mm away and switch to 150mm. No extension tube, minimum focusing distance. Look how nice that working distance is. Bam! There's a reason this is such a popular portrait lens. Okay, now let's put on the 16mm extension on the 150mm lens. Again, gonna put the extension on the camera first and then put the lens on the extension. I will never stop drilling this into your brain. Now let me adjust to find my new focusing distance, and you can see that I moved back inside the video frame now. I'm much closer. And we get a very nice perspective. This is actually my favorite combination for headshots. Moving right on, we're going to switch to the 32mm extension, and again we're going to have to find our new working distance, which is going to get us closer and closer to our subject. With the 32, we're going to be almost filling up the frame with the face of our subject. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's a great perspective, great looking portraits with the 32 extension. Now let's get a bit crazy and let's add both extensions together, 32 and 16, giving us 48mm total extension. Now we're going to fill the frame with the face of our subject completely, or at least we would with an adult. I need to get out of the way of my light, and boom, another blinker, but you get the idea. So that was our portrait session. Now let's have a look at the images and do some comparison. This is both lenses at minimum focusing distance, and now both lenses with a 16mm extension. Notice how the 16mm has brought both lenses to the same magnification, even though they started so far apart. Which is the first thing you gotta know about extension rings is the shorter is your lens to begin with, the more difference an extension ring is gonna make. Look on both sides of the screen, the jump from no extension to 16mm, that jump is so much bigger on the 80mm than it is on the 150. You're probably also noticing that the perspective and the depth of field are much more pleasant on the 150mm picture than they are on the 80mm, and that's why the 150 is my favorite portrait lens for the Hasselblad. So let's have a look at the three looks that I can achieve with this lens. Minimum focusing distance, which gives me a head and shoulder shot, 16mm extension, which gives me a head shot, and 32mm extension, which gives me what we call a beauty shot. It's a shot where you focus on the facial elements, the eyes and the mouth, and you don't have to worry about distracting things like ears or hair. And the last thing to know about extension rings is that they rob you of some light. So I encourage you to make a compensation chart such as this one, featuring the lenses that you own and your extension tubes. And for each combination of lens and extension tube, you write down the exposure compensation you need to make. Because you stayed until the end, you get to have a behind-the-scenes look at my light setup for this session. As you can see, it was all natural light. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll talk to you some other time about another topic. Cheers!